Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix, and I'm doing a daily thought. So here we are. And it's about relationships. I know, right? Where to start? There was this research study talking about how young men aren't really dating right now, and some of them aren't even active physically. So I can get that. I really can. Things have changed so much over the years. And I have a few ideas of why this might be the thing now. One thing is that people don't always deal with as much adversity as maybe they once did many years ago coming up because society has changed. So when it comes to interacting with others and in dealing with things, I don't believe some people are mentally able to handle the emotions that come with the relationship or the dating or getting to know someone, trying to build something long term. So they would rather just not deal with it at all. Because I'm going to be honest, if you're building a relationship, it isn't always easy. It's not always easy. You're just not going to always click. Yeah, are there people who you gel with really well? Yes, and it's great if you can find that. At the same time, you don't want someone who you fight with all the time either. You want that balance. You want that happy medium where it's like, okay, you get along for the most part. You have your off moments from time to time, but you're both looking to make it work. Now, the other thing is that maybe it's hard for people to find someone who actually brings something to a relationship. I think that's also a problem too, when people find themselves dating or attempting to date and in looking for something long term, going down that path, the prospects don't always bring something to the table, where either maybe they don't have a job or they don't have a car or they don't have their own place. And the list goes on and on, which that stuff has never really bothered me. I've dated people who don't have a car, or don't have a job, or don't have their own place, whatever. My thing is, me personally, I can't speak for anybody else. My thing is, do you have goals? Do you have aspirations? Because I always tell people, in many things, whether it's in tarot readings, whether it's in daily thoughts, or just randomly talking during my podcast, things can turn around in a minute. They literally can. I have seen situations where someone is completely broke, and then within a year's period, they become a millionaire. So I'm not quick to dismiss anyone because they may not be at a certain financial status at the moment. That's not a huge deal to me because that stuff can come. Everything comes and goes is with energy. So that may be the moment, but then the next moment, something happens and then they're stable. Everyone has to go through what they have to go through. But my biggest thing is, do you have goals? Do you have aspirations? Also, do you have a heart? Can you show empathy? Can you be honest? Honesty is a really huge thing to me. One of my pet peeves is when people are not honest with me or when they try to hide information from me. And usually I know when they're not being honest, and I usually know when they're hiding information. I don't always say anything, but I usually know. So, yeah, honesty is a huge thing for me. And I feel that's another thing too, where you have some people attempting to start relationships, but then honesty is an issue, and then you have to check every single thing that this person is doing. Well, you don't have to, but some people find them in that situation where they feel like they have to check every single thing that a person is doing because they don't trust the person. And then it's like, okay, well, if you don't trust the person, why are you even in a relationship with them? And for those people now, because one thing about this younger generation, they have no tolerance for anything. I'm sure you've heard about the younger generation when it comes to jobs and things like that. Like, I'm not working for $10 an hour. Like you better start me off at 15 or something. It's just like, or either they would just flat out quit a job if they feel like they're being abused, so on and so forth. This younger generation has no chill. And that can be a good thing at times, and that can be a bad thing at times. It depends on what the situation is. But taking that energy and applying it to relationships as well, where it's just like, okay, I'm not dealing with this. And that is kind of what I get from some of these people, the younger people who, especially the men, who just are not dating because they feel it comes with a lot of, I guess you might say, encumbrances or issues or whatever. Where it's just like, this is not worth it. I'm not dealing with this. No. And they're just in that energy. Some people are just like, I'd rather be alone. I can understand it. And like I said, some people just don't have the mental or emotional fortitude to go through the pain, because that's what relationships can be sometimes, is pain, of growing a relationship. And I feel that's the other thing too, growing being the key word. Where it's not a microwaved relationship where, oh, it's ready. You know what I mean? It is something that has to be prepared. It's not something you can just throw in the microwave. It's something where you have to pick what seeds you want to plant in the garden. You have to pick what vegetables and stuff. You have to decide when you're planting the seeds. You have to decide how you want to nurture. And then when those vegetables grow, then you have to decide, how do I want to prepare them in the meal? There's so many things of that process, from planting the seeds to getting it to the kitchen to mixing everything together to create this great dinner this great feast that you have. But in order to create a great feast, you have to go through the process. And I don't think anybody wants to go through the process anymore. I just don't. Or at least not many people want to go through the process. That's been kind of the energy. And maybe it'll change over time. I feel, and now I'm hearing and seeing things, more than likely what will happen, at least with the timeline that's in my head right now, is that you will have extreme factions. And I feel like one group is going to be all about emotion, humanity, touch, things of that nature. And then you have another faction that will be more, I don't want to say robotic, but it will be more detached, if that makes sense. They'll be more detached. The human interaction for them will be more transactional instead of emotional. That's kind of the timeline that I'm seeing. So, yeah. But then the question becomes, who will be the people that hold on to the emotion and they're about community and interaction and touch and building something with someone? And who will be the people who are just like, I don't need it. I can get robots to do this or to do that. That's good enough for me. Everything is mostly about transaction anyway, so why not just treat all of my interactions as a transactional interaction, even if it does mean dealing with another human being. So yeah, but relationships are possible. Long-term relationships are possible. My parents are celebrating I think it's their 50th. I'm pretty sure it's their 50th this coming May. So, and being together for 50 years, it's like, whoo, that's a lot. Not saying it can't be done, because, yeah, I could do it with the right person. I have to be in love. That's the other thing, too, of relationships. People, they get married, but they're not in love. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. Love might be important here. And I know in some marriages, yes, it is transactional, where it's just like, okay, look, this is a merger. You're bringing your assets to the table. I'm bringing my assets to the table. We're going to make things happen together. We'll be a power couple. and do whatever we need to do. And I'm not judging that. There's nothing wrong with that. And actually, I could almost get into that too. But I'm still a romantic at heart. I'm still a romantic at heart, you know. So it would be better to have the love aspect. And being in love makes things so much easier. Because when you're in a relationship, if you're in love, the things that would normally irritate you, they don't always irritate you as much when you're in love. Because I've dealt with that with the person I was in love with. Because certain things about that person, if somebody else did it, I'd be kind of irritated. But because that person was doing it and I was in love, it was like, okay, whatever. So, and that makes it a little bit easier. So, yeah, probably want to be in love before you get married. You don't have to be, and we all have free will. You can do what you want to do. But yeah, I just feel those are some of the reasons why people just aren't doing the relationship thing. It's just, there isn't a tolerance for it. There isn't much patience for it. And there isn't that emotional fortitude, that mental fortitude that is ready to take it on. Because you're taking on a whole totally different or a whole separate personality when you get into a relationship. It's no longer I, it becomes we. So, yeah, good times. But those are kind of my thoughts on it. That's my daily thought. I just wanted to do one right quick. Now, I need to get on with the rest of my day. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting the podcast. I appreciate it. All of you are my firebirds and my rock stars. So I appreciate that. Until next time, be blessed.